Welcome back to the Highway with Kyle Shutt. I'm as crazy as I am hazy, baby. Today we got a treat for you. We got Mr. Walter Schreifels on the program from Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, Dead Heaven, Rival Schools. He's been in every band, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. Fucking youth crew, baby. If you like what you've been hearing on the program, you're going to have to hit that subscribe button. You're going to have to follow this show on whatever app you listen to it on. You're going to have to get all DIY and do it yourself because ain't nobody going to hit those buttons for you. And if you want to go one step further, you can find us at patreon.com/thehighway. You can get yourself some sweet Kyle Shutt merch. You can go ahead and wear me home. You can get a video guitar lesson from me. You can help put a 6-pack of beer in my fridge. You can get yourself a shout out on the program. Anything you want. There's something on there that you don't see that you want. You just reach out to me. I'm a real nice guy. And we got to give some mad love to our wonderful sponsors, Heil Sound. Because if you like the way I sound, it's because there's a Heil in front of me. Now, our guest, Mr. Schreifels, today is also from the legendary post-hardcore band Quicksand, and they have a new record coming out real soon. It might even be out by the time this thing airs. Everybody go get a copy of it. We're going to play a song at the end of all this. I am so excited. It's time to do things my way.
The Highway.
Hey Kyle, what's happening, man?
Hey Walter, what's up?
Just chilling, dude. I've got it kind of worked out. Like you were the only thing I had today. Like so, but then because we got this new record, I just got like all this press today, so just like
Awesome.
piled on. Yeah, so I'm talking about my shit.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm in the groove. How you been?
That's awesome. I've been good. Just hanging out, waiting for tour to start. I'm so ready.
Yeah.
To hit the road.
Yeah.
I bet you are too.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, same.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Highway, Walter Schreifels, everybody from every band. You've been in every.
If you've listened to it, I did it.
Yeah, we could spend 45 minutes just listing them all. But Quicksand has a new single out, Missile Command, which is sick, and I'm really excited. Is that the new record that you just got in today? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so the new album comes out August, like in the teens somewhere. I can't remember what day, but so we've had these, as it is in the biz these days, you kind of drip out the songs before the album comes out, and the response has been great. And yeah, I'm feeling good about it, man. I think we really, we kind of cracked our knuckles and got down to it. So I'm really pleased with it. Really stoked to get out there and play and all that.
Hell yeah! Is it still the same three of you?
It's the three of us. We're going to be adding a guitar player though, and I'm not going to tell you who that is.
It's me.
It could be.
The cat's
it could be you. That would be really. It could be you. It could be Slash or Buckethead. It's just a wide range. It's
I thought
out
Slash
there.
was Buckethead. I thought that was his.
Is that what it is? Well, we'll find out.
Well, yeah, like I said, thanks for coming on. And I always I like to wind the clock back with my musical guests and ask. I'm just curious. I'm sure you've answered this question a bunch, but I'm just curious about what it was that made you want to stop watching Saturday morning cartoons and pick up a guitar.
Good question. I guess seeing like these kind of old clips of the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, and everybody screaming for these bands. It seemed like that's a pretty cool gig to do. And then I guess as I got older, like finding heroes like AC/DC, like Angus Young, his style was so accessible that I mean, obviously his leads were amazing, but he seemed like he was doing something that I could do. And the Ramones similarly, where you're faced with this learning curve of learning how to play guitar, to where like, okay, maybe there's a maybe it's not the very first rung, but maybe like second or third rung, and you can actually do something with it. So kind of hitting on those big musical influences like Beatles, Rolling Stones, and Beach Boys, for sure. My dad was a surfer, so I kind of had that as well in my in my imagination. But some of these punk bands and that were kind of hitting their stride like in my early adolescence, I think is the right term for when you're like 10 to 13, and there's so many cool bands to just be like, whoa, the B-52s. I could be Fred Schneider. I could be Joe Ramone. I could be Johnny Ramone. I could be Angus Young. So it was all seemed doable.
Yeah. Did you ever get to see any of those acts live?
I saw the B-52s many years later. We were playing, Rival Schools was playing a benefit, a really cool benefit after 9/11 with Beastie Boys, Strokes, Rival Schools, B-52s, Chiba Mato, and it was an insane bill. And so yeah, I was hanging out with the B-52s backstage, and they were just like so cool. I was in their dressing room, just like having drinks with the B-52s, and I just felt like this is a time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you get how many. I really, really appreciate those moments where just like shit's working out. So that was really cool. And yeah, I saw the Ramones pretty early. I mean, relatively early. I guess I saw them like 1984 for the first time, and I think Marky was in the band at that point. So it was Road to Ruin.
Man,
the record at that point would have been. No, it probably wasn't Marky, actually. I think it was Subterranean Jungle. I think Marky was on a bender.
Was that CJ at that point?
No. It was with Dee Dee, Johnny, and Joey.
Okay.
I just don't know if Marky was playing drums.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a pretty early Ramones gig. So I saw them. I never saw AC/DC, which is fucked up.
Yeah, me either. Every time that, by the time I hit the road nonstop, like they were always on tour. When you tour all the time, like you never get to see like the really cool shit that's out at the same time as you. Yeah,
it's true. And it just never came together. But it's AC/DC's alive in me, in my guitar playing hands.
Man, I always wanted to do a approach Fred Schneider about producing a covers album where you just get him to do like the Gautier song or whatever, like, no, you're just somebody that I used to know.
Oh my god, that would be big.
Him or Jello Biafra, I guess you could kind of swap the two out. But
I used to work at a health food store, and Fred Schneider would come in. I was at the juice bar, and Fred would come in, and
no way.
I would just get so psyched when Fred would come in. It would be amazing. He's the coolest. I mean, who has? I think he's underappreciated.
That band too, like their handful of hits. Obviously, everyone knows, but those records have great deep cuts.
Oh hell yeah, dude! The first, I would even go as far as into their really big album is fucking awesome. With Love Shack and all that. I mean, it's hard to take it out of the context of it being like hugely popular, but the songs are great. There's a reason why everyone got into it. And I loved Whammy. I loved all the records up until that point. I think that were really great. There's maybe like one or two that I didn't really get into. But yeah, sick band, amazing. And they're fun as fuck. So it's like, here's like this touchstone. I don't know who was like the fun friends party, cool girls. I didn't know Fred Schneider was gay, but like just like that, you could be a guy like Fred Schneider and just be doing your thing, and you don't even have to sing. You could have a walkie-talkie and just talk in this weird voice and be the life of the party. Like there's been some that kind of touch on that, but they're special.
That's awesome, man. But what turns that into to hardcore for you?
I guess, kind of being open to different sounds, and obviously like the B-52, the Ramones, like everyone knows who they are now. And I surely didn't discover them, but at my age, when I was getting into these bands, like other kids my age were not feeling that or seeing that as a thing. So I think I always had like an appetite for, what was sort of off of like what the, mainstream was feeding us, man. And so I was looking for that kind of thing. So I think what I really liked about hardcore was a couple of things. I think The actual DIY, which is something that we take for granted, and I didn't even know what DIY meant at the time, but like I can remember getting this stack of 7 inches and listening to all these classic bands, not knowing what they were, and hearing Minor Threat and like with no reference, except for like the Ramones, and hearing the lyrics and being struck by how kind of direct and there's this sort of incredible wisdom to them, and yet it was like someone, I mean, by the time I heard Minor Threat, they'd been broken up for probably a year or two, but to me it seemed like it had been in a cave in France. It seemed ancient, and it was black and white, and you could feel that someone had, like, it wasn't on Epic Records. It wasn't on, that there was some way to make records, really, really cool, awesome records with such freedom. And you could feel that it was like people my age, or like, like they were seniors and I was a freshman, but you know what I mean? Like within my realm, that they were fucking just doing this, and they weren't waiting for like someone else to give them the keys, and I think that really struck me. And then also just that it sounded shitty, that it looked shitty, and that it was, if my like kind of, normie kind of like high school friends were to like experience it, it would just sound like fucking garbage to them, and that's a turn on. You know what I mean? Like, because I think a lot of the times, like especially when you're in high school, you're trying to find an identity, of your own, but you're also, trying to latch onto things that might give you more clues to like who you are and what you're actually into. And a lot of that is defined by like what you're not into. Sometimes it's easier to understand that than it is to understand what you actually are into. And I think there was something shitty about hardcore that appealed to me, that I could like peel those, the sort of like, air quotes, like bad sounds or bad recordings, you know what I mean? Aggressiveness, lack of skill, musical prowess or whatever, that I could hear what was in it, which was the heart, which was the philosophy behind it. And that resonated with me like more than, and I was listening to all kinds of cool stuff before I discovered hardcore. I was into, Buzzcocks, Joy Division, The Smiths, Echo and the Bunnymen, REM, U2. I was into all kinds of interesting music that I still love today, but hardcore was just took it to this other universe that was, it felt like something I could touch, that I could be on stage, in a way. And yet, Minor Threat were like, for lack of a better word, like fucking not just rock stars, but like artists, and I think that all appealed to me.
The whole the DIY approach that you brought up, I think it was like to me anyways, like the main difference between punk and hardcore, especially in those days. And in y'all even took it. I mean, I don't know. I've only heard this, but didn't you used to actually? You didn't just like print your own shirts. You like drew your own shirts, like
the first bunch of Gorilla Biscuits shirts, we actually physically drew them.
That's so.
It's very time consuming, and
how much are those worth now? I mean, my God.
Oh shit, I don't know that any of it exist, and no one would believe it. But assembling the 7 inches, in like, in my brother's bedroom, like having a bunch of friends over to like put together these 7 inches that one day would be selling in record stores for like, thousands of dollars, like it's insane, like not even understanding that and or caring or ever being able to project that into it. It's just like we're doing it ourselves, like us and our friends, and we're like creating this thing, and like it's for us, by us, and that's just fucking cool as shit. And I still, especially in today's kind of world where like all these institutions are like, like the major label system, and having gone through that, and fucking, it was awesome. I loved all that shit. But I think nowadays in music and I think in general, these institutions they're not going to give you you know, some sort of like job or identity that you're going to be able to roll with for 30, 40 years and then retire and chill somewhere.
Yep.
Like you gotta hustle and you gotta do it yourself, and you gotta rely on your people and harness that power, you know. And I think that all that, you know, DIY training in the 80s, you know, I think is, you know, I meet a lot of people that kind of picked up on that, and I think it's helpful and applicable to like the time we live in.
Absolutely. How did that though, like having all that under your belt, what was that like transitioning into that major label world, like with Quicksand?
Oh, it was fucking awesome, dude. I got used to it real quick. I mean, like my first ride on a tour bus that these fucking nut jobs were paying for was
Right.
awesome. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, I guess it's like anything, you know, like to be embraced by the established power, is it's cool to feel like you're doing something like, oh fuck, we're like gonna get played on the radio, or we're gonna be on MTV, you know, or I'm on fucking Beavis and Butthead. Like that's kind of crazy considering like what our initial, I mean, I guess Quicksand maybe had a little bit of a more expansive idea of what we were doing, but just like me personally, like to me, music was something fun to do. It was not my career thing. I wasn't like, I'm gonna make it in show business, you know. I was not like that. So that it was carrying me to where I'm touring the world and doing all this exciting stuff, you know, getting taken out to dinner or like going to these parties with famous people are there and all that kind of stuff. That was fun, man. You know, I didn't really have any, I didn't like buy into it intensely either. Like you know, but you know, I enjoyed people there that were like into music, that were like excited about it for the same reasons that I was, and yet everything was being paid for by like the sales of like Elton John records. It was a beautiful thing. But you know, I never really bought into it in a sense. So, you know, and there was also, it wasn't all, you know, expense accounts and all that shit either. You know, I mean, you are I mean, for the young people out there, if people give you a bunch of money for something, generally, you know, they have a say in what you're doing. And so you have to like listen to some of their bullshit ideas that you just, you know, you might not be into. And then you have to, you know, and I didn't experience that so much, to be honest. I think we came in at a good time where they weren't like artistically really bugging you, but you know, there's some corny shit too that you just gotta like, you know, have to deal with as well. But you know, my experience was especially during the Quicksand time was very good, and you know, I can't really complain. And in the Rival Schools times, and you know, I did other records for majors. You know, as the money started to disappear from it, there was like other levels to it that became more like, oh, okay, so this is what this is. You know, this is what they warn you about. You know, you're in this part of the ride right now. Mm-hmm. And you know, and that's bullshit. But you know, it's like anything, any sort of job or any sort of pursuit, you're going to struggle at some point. You know, I think that's just the way that it is. And so you how you navigate those struggles, and you know, that kind of shit is what allows you to develop and grow and become who you are, you know, or want or are meant to be.
You're shown who you are, I suppose.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all like, okay, you know, do I fucking blow this whole thing up? Do I have a conversation? Do I, you know, you have a certain amount of, you know, in any sort of like, you know, that's just what life is a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
You know, so my struggles are relatively chill, you know.
I think it was the last time we hung out, you had told me that you were digging through your stuff and you found an old Quicksand flyer for the 930 Club, and it was like, I can't remember all the bands, but it was like some insane lineup, and it was like $3 to get in. And I remember you saying like, Like specifically, I think you said like we just had such hardcore sellout guilt that we couldn't charge that much money for our shows, and you're like, what if we had just charged like $2 more? We could have like afforded a hotel room or something.
Yeah, we're fucking idiots.
How real was that sellout culture back then?
Yeah, it was real. You know what I mean? You're coming from this like $5 door or $3 door mentality to be like anything beyond that is like and then for cool reason, because kids don't have any money. So obviously you're trying to like bring people together. So make it cheap, but you have to cover expenses. But definitely we were under the Fugazi school, so you always have Ian on your shoulder judging you. God bless him. He'll keep you honest. But I don't think it would have killed us to charge a couple extra bucks to make it work out. We're doing our part, man. We were out there for like 300 days plus a year playing our fucking hearts out every single night, giving 110%. Like, it doesn't make us shitty to like want to get our own hotel room every once in a while. Yeah. So I mean, but that was the culture we came up in, and I'm very, very grateful to have learned all those lessons. And those things are fucking important. The choices that you make, that $2 extra might mean some sort of comfort here, but all the choices that you make are, it's kind of like we're talking about before, that those are the things that are defining you. It's just like, are you cool with that? And there's plenty of stuff I've said no to that would have fucking made me a lot of money, and I don't have any regret about that at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How is it these days? I mean, not necessarily these days, but since kind of like once streaming sort of rose to the the surface, and we're all just sort of lumped in these like giant festivals all together, and you're sort of like just out there competing with so many huge bands that are kind of in the same boat that we are, that they're not making nearly the money that they used to, and stuff like that. How is it navigating those waters for you?
I guess I haven't really struggled with it because it's been kind of working out fine for me. Like I think there's an exchange, really. So I mean, back then we would have, we're going to do an interview at this radio station in this town, and you're in a bus, and you're in this sort of sound scanning and all this kind of crap. So that stuff, if you're a really, really big band and you're very successful, well, you're stoked, but you're also pissed because you're paying back all this money they advanced you. So I was lucky to exist in a DIY universe where, like, the record costs like, $3,000 or $5,000 to make. So you're making money off of this record, and that's helping you. Where in the major label system, everything's on these advances, and it's only the bands that get really very popular that ever come to that reckoning point. Otherwise, it's just all on this, like, band credit card or company credit card. I think the fact that I can be a part of the festivals and those kind of things, like, that really wasn't a thing in the United States until I think the last 10-15 years, where you have this sort of thing, and it's great. It allows bands to make have a higher payday, and so the bands can function and do their thing. Because if bands are made up of people, and people need to pay fucking rent, and even if you can just make the show, it doesn't bring the same power as, like, if people are just really struggling. So I mean, the festivals, I think, bring that together and are able to pay the bands a higher amount of money. That's cool. I think obviously merch has become more of an important factor, and as if we're talking about how do bands like make money versus, like, now that there's like not so much record sales, that I guess I'm addressing that. And obviously vinyl, for people that love it, I mean, that's the actual article, that's the actual material representation of this, like, piece of art that depending how the band looks at their music, I consider what I'm doing like to be craft and like songs and stuff like that, but it's art because you're creating this, you're manifesting this like idea outside of yourself, and and with a band you're doing it with a group of people, which is has a lot of challenges, and but also creates all these different wild things that you just could never plan. But if you create like an actual thing, it's like, I mean, it's not a one of a kind thing, but it has a value. You know what I mean? People, fucking human beings, want to put things on their shelf. It used to be books. When I was back in caves, it would be like people's favorite fucking rocks. They would just like they would just pile those fuckers up, and if someone wanted to borrow a rock from you, you'd like, bring that fucking rock back, dude. Don't fucking lose that rock. You know what I mean? So don't fucking scratch the rock. It's a nice rock. So people were that's just part of our it's in our DNA.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I couldn't live any other way. I don't think I would just be miserable if I wasn't like creating art and records and touring, traveling the world and getting to know people everywhere. That's what I love about touring and just playing music and just all these festivals too. To cram all these bands together that I would have otherwise never have met, like y'all. You know what I mean? Like I think the first time we met was I think it was Welcome to Rockville in Jacksonville. For the year that Billy Idol played, it was fucking awesome.
It was so good.
The end of the night, I just remember it was like y'all and us and Clutch and I think Red Fang just like sitting around the couch, just passing a bottle of tequila and just having the best time. And it's I love festivals, man. Did you ever get to do Soundwave in Australia?
Soundwave, yes,
those were
I did.
Wild,
with rival schools. That's a great hang.
There's just like 97 bands in one day.
yes. And yeah, I mean, it's great to see your peers, man. It's like people that you've just like heard of, or maybe people you that that you really admire their work, and just people that have that same kind of sense of just kind of how you described it. It's like, I just love fucking traveling around, meeting people, playing music, creating art, soaking up other people's work, and the experiences that all come out of that, which is also random and beautiful. And like, those are the riches of my life, are my family and those experiences.
Same here. I wouldn't trade it for the world, because like, you never know what kind of situation you're going to find yourself in. Like you were saying, like hanging out backstage with like Beastie Boys and B-52s. Are there any other of those just wild moments that you just couldn't believe were happening?
One that comes to mind was more recently. A friend of mine who's a photographer, we went out to Japan, and he's friends with The Edge, and I loved U2 as a kid. And we went out to see U2 last year at in Tokyo, and we went to see them, like fucking totally sick as seats, like and we just hung out with The Edge all weekend. It was fucking fun as shit in the whole world. Edge is so cool, and just the nicest guy, and we're in Tokyo, so we're just like, it's just different. You know what I mean? Tokyo is just such a magical. I mean, like that's the charm of a movie like what was the movie Lost in Translation? You know what I mean? Tokyo just has this sort of magical quality. So hanging out in a dive bar with Edge, drinking beers at like 4:00 in the morning. It's fucking amazing.
That's rad. Do you remember where the show was?
The Enormo Dome of Tokyo.
Yeah, okay. We played there at the Saitama Super Arena.
Okay.
Metallica was like 40,000 people, like 2 nights.
It would have been that.
Was it like that many people? Was it just a huge thing like that? Oh man.
Yeah, it's big. It's bigger than your average arena. Yeah, I think it would have been. It probably would have been the same spot. Because it's Madison Square Garden is like, I think 20,000, like absolutely every seat. Yeah. And this place was bigger than that. It was pretty fucking sick.
I never got to play the Garden. I always wanted to.
Me neither. But Civ played there, and
really?
Yeah. I wrote those songs. My songs were played there.
Hell yeah. I didn't know Civ played there. That's wild.
They opened for Kiss. It was amazing.
What the fuck?
Yeah, wow. They opened for Kiss.
That's incredible.
Because we had the same management as Kiss, basically. Doc McGee, who's a fucking amazing guy, and has, as a manager, just did so much incredible shit. I mean, he put on that whole Moscow rock festival with like that's not the name of it, but it was like when Gorbachev was running Russia, and Doc had gotten in some trouble with the U.S., so they got him to with the law, and so they got him to put on this concert in Russia as a way to kind of like get him off the hook somewhat.
Weird.
And it was Bon Jovi, Scorpions, Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue. I went to his house and there's like a picture of him hanging out with Gorbachev, and he managed Kiss. So that's how Civ got that gig, and it was fucking awesome. They ripped it.
That's a hell of a way to get out of trouble. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great way to get out of trouble. Okay, listen, we're really mad at you. You fucked this up. Now do something awesome. Okay. So, yeah.
Good Lord. Man, I only ever got to play in Russia one time. Did you get to do that much?
I never did. No, I really would like to. I love Russian history. I think they're just so it's just interesting growing up and when I grew up, and like how the Russia just loomed so large, USSR, SSR, two S's, and how they were this sort of behind this iron curtain, and they had the same power that we had, but they had this sort of like fucked up philosophy of how to run a government, and we had to be afraid of them, and they were always the villain, and it's just, they're just interesting people, man. I got a lot of respect for Russian people. They're hard motherfuckers. That's my take. Like, our idea of suffering is fucking pretty whack or weak in comparison to what their level of suffering. When I meet Russian people, I'm just like, you're the product of like, you're a survivor of so many horrible pogroms or like Mongols coming over and just killing everybody, and you're the product of the ones that survived all this shit. I mean, there's just, they're on an open plain, so there's just like all these just different people coming in to kill you all the time, and I think they're fucking amazing. I'm really into Russian Revolution too, like 1905 and 1917. It's just like, I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I wanted to ask you, coming from the DIY scene, just growing up in it, contributing, the huge parts of it to the scene itself. What's it like, because I mean, Gorilla Biscuits took, many breaks over the years, but what's it like coming back to that, with just more mature ears and just a better understanding of music and everything? Like when you just, do you slip right back into it? Like, how do you think about those recordings differently and those songs differently and things?
I think those songs just kind of play themselves. I mean, they're just like a kind of, to me, like a perfect representation of a time and place and energy that is, it's just, there's a certain timelessness to it. You know what I mean? Actually, but it totally encapsulates like just friendship and, possibility and, the kind of thing that like when you're at a certain, before life has kicked your ass, but you're smart enough to understand, to have wisdom, I guess it's when you're kind of like in your late teens, like you have that, you're smart, like you understand things, like, and you're also literally the future of the society, you know what I mean? And you still because you're young and you're a child, you haven't gotten your ass kicked by life. You haven't had to make, compromises that people have to make over the course of their lives that can like break them,
Yeah.
And so I think Gorilla Biscuits has that optimism, and that's the power in it, and we fucking just rocked it, like it just is a cool record. It just holds up. It's like just kind of, it's amateurish, but in the best way. So if I approach that when I'm playing, over the years playing festivals with GB, I mean, it's like 5 people, Alex passed a couple years back now, but even Charlie, who's played in his place, is like been such a dear friend, and have gone through those times together over such a, over most of my lifetime. That the value of that, is a starting point, of having that, just, people to travel through life with, and through all these different changes. And also the value to, that the reaction, the audience, man. It's like the Gorilla Biscuits is like a spark that ignites the people, and like everybody's singing along, everyone, the mood, the feeling in the audience is a fucking awesome one. And I think to be a part of that circuit, to me, like, my hands are just moving all around. I'm not paying attention at all to what I'm doing. I'm just experiencing this kind of feeling. For some people, it's a nostalgia, but it goes to kids who are really little and that are experiencing it, that they relate to this thing that it goes over generations. So, obviously, like, I was there. I was, I was fucking in the studio making this thing, at one time in my life. But that's not what I'm connecting to. I'm just like connected to the whole fucking, what the hell, dude? There's all these people on stage. They're fucking flying off stage. Everyone's singing along. It's fucking so ridiculous. The band's called Gorilla Biscuits. This is insane and beautiful.
It is. Whose idea was it to put the harmonica on the start today?
Dude, me, of course.
That was you.
Yeah.
I've always loved that part.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, with Gorilla Biscuits, it was really nice because everyone was just down for whatever the fuck. So it was like, there was no like, no, man, that's whack. You can't put a harmonica. And I picked up a good harmonica. I've always wanted to learn how to play harmonica. I saw Mick Jagger playing harmonica.
It's harder than you'd think. Like, as somebody just looking at it from the outside. For me, anyway, it was.
I got a How to Play Harmonica for Dummies little book, and I figured it out in a weekend. I mean, I'm not good by any stretch, but like, you could learn, if you get a blues harp, you can learn the blues scale. With a bit of patience, you can get it.
Yeah. And just one of those things where I was like, oh, I'll put some harmonica on this, and I picked up a harmonica. I was like, well, that didn't go as planned at all.
No, I mean, you can't just like jump on it and rock it with, I mean, I couldn't, but it's the learning curve to me, I think, is like a weekend to make it sound like you could play the solo to start today. Yeah, right. Which is like mostly like 1 or 3 notes.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I know y'all are ramping up to head back out on the road. When does that tour start?
I think I think it's late September.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know you're coming through Austin in October. I can't wait for that show.
Oh, me neither, dude. I miss Austin. I mean, lockdown has been cool to just be in one place, and that's been kind of a nice change, especially, for our kind of like lifestyle. As much as we love it, it's cool to like feel what it's like to not have it to go to the airport all the time, or not have to get in the, in the vehicle to like go to the next place. But my just frequency of just knowing that I go to Austin like twice a year, generally or more, is I missed it. I missed my friends, missed seeing being in the city. So I'm really looking forward to coming back out.
Yeah, I miss New York too. I was living in Brooklyn for a little while, and it's kind of like Austin. It's just changed so much over the years. But I always just have a wonderful time when I'm there. Just all my friends, and just playing the music hall or anywhere. We're going to be stopping through the Beacon pretty soon, which I've never played before. Isn't that like on the Upper West Side?
Yep, the Beacon's a classic venue. I saw Sugar Cubes there. I saw the Replacements there.
Damn.
I recently saw Bob Dylan there.
Whoa. What was that like?
It was a great. I've seen Bob Dylan like 10, 15 times. I
Word.
love him. But it was a great set, man. It was really good set, actually. Because sometimes he can be like, and sometimes he can be pretty special, and he was on fire that night. Cool. Beacon's great, classic venue. You're gonna love it.
I can't wait. I think y'all are at the Mohawk coming through this time, right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Because I know our friend Ryan Chavez's band is going to be supporting you guys
Yes,
on that
love
tour.
Ryan. I'm really excited for Narrowhead to come out. I haven't seen Ryan in a minute, but I'm looking forward to spend some time with him.
I just talked with Neil Hennessy from Lawrence Arms. I didn't know Ryan was in the Smoking Popes for a while until he brought that up. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I totally
Oh,
didn't know that.
wow. I did not know that.
I know,
Yeah.
right? He kind of kept that one under his hat, I guess. Hanging
Yeah.
out. But yeah. Well, man, I thank you so much for coming on the show. It's just a pleasure to talk to you and just to get all this history for everyone that doesn't know it. And yeah, I'm really excited for the new Quicksand record coming out mid-August. Is it okay if we play Missile Command on the show?
Please do, man. Rock it. Play it loud.
Are we going to?
Yeah.
Man, Walter, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you, brother.
My pleasure, Kyle. I'm looking forward to seeing you out in Austin, and I think I'm missing you in New York, but yeah, can't wait to hang, buddy. Good talking with you.
There is no reason for this collision. Apologies ran all season forever. I love you now more than I ever did. And it rains, and it rains, and it rains. And it rains, I can't change your mind. And it rains, and it rains, and it rains. It's true love rains as lights fall up the sky. You better get used to it. Wishing you were here for this decision. I don't wanna be wrong. I don't wanna mislead. Stations of our present, you're more than I'll ever need. Can't explain, can't explain, can't explain. Can't explain why you changed your mind. And it rains, and it rains, and it rains. It's true love rains as lights fall up the sky. You better get used to it. As lights fall up the sky, it takes its own share.
Thanks so much for tuning into The Highway this week. A big shout out to Reverend Guitars, Railhammer Pickups, and Earthquaker Devices. If you liked what you heard, you can follow where you can follow, subscribe where you can subscribe, and if you want to go one step further, you can support us on Patreon at The Highway with Kyle Shutt. For a few bucks a month, you can help us keep this party going, get early access to next week's episode, and even get yourself a shout out.